Hey everybody, it's Thursday, May 22nd, 2025. Welcome to the NFL Fantasy Football Podcast, where running backs matter. It's me, your man, MG Marcus Grant, joined by Michael F. Florio and Laquan Jones. And today, got a special guest. It is former Cardinal, former Buck, former Bronco, former Dolphin. It is Chase Edmonds. Chase, we appreciate you stopping by, man. Thanks for joining us. How are you today?
Fellas, how you doing, man? Appreciate y'all having me on.
Yeah, man, we're glad to have you here. We want to just kind of, just talk some football, maybe a little bit of fantasy with you. And I guess the first question is, for you, I know, you were playing and it's a little bit harder when you're actually, playing on a week-to-week basis, but
yeah,
are you a fantasy guy? Do you have any interest in it? What's your connection to it?
So I personally used to be a fantasy guy and kind of fell off the cliff a little bit, not as much. I have friends from back home that are absolute diehard fantasy players. They're the guys that you'll see, like, the last place loser. One of my friends had to do a photo shoot on a Harley Davidson in his drawers, like a calendar lookbook. So bro, they go after it, bro, and they go hard. So just kind of hearing their conversations about it, I have a good idea of the fantasy strategies and kind of how people go about the thing. But me personally, I'm not a fantasy guy. I'll definitely get into it once I'm officially done playing ball, though, for sure.
Do your friends who play, are they ever like, hey Chase, we need a touchdown or something this week? Like,
oh, bro, they always trying to get you in trouble, bro. I kind of just tell those guys, look, man, hey, the league ain't playing with that one. I ain't got nothing for you. I ain't
fans is watching
nothing for you. Hey, fans is watching. Got your phone tapped, everything.
Oh my God, that is crazy. But Chase, I know it's the off season right now, and you still want to get out there and get on the field, because when you were on Good Morning Football, you were talking more so of like, hey man, if there's some teams out there, what's up? Like, you ready to go? So you still in shape, ready to go out there, right?
Absolutely, bro. Obviously it was unfortunate that I tore my meniscus in training camp last year. That's just the way it goes. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, obviously great organization. And they put me on season-ending IR, so they still took care of me financially, let me be around the guys and have that impact in the locker room. So I'm forever grateful for them for that. Healed up very well, though. Beat the rehab by about a month ahead of progress. So I've been cleared to go now since about January. And obviously just been training every single day. I had a workout with the coach that went pretty well about a week and a half ago. But again, man, just really waiting for that right opportunity. I'm not in a rush or kind of tripping or, got my head in the whirl spin. I'm blessed and grateful to be doing opportunities like this with you guys right now. So I think that's always a blessing. I always try to find the light and the positivity and anything that's going on in life, right? Because we all going through something. So for me, I've been blessed and fortunate I'll be going into year 8, really, which is just crazy for me coming from Fordham. So definitely want to get back on the field. I don't want to go out on a season-ending injury, but I'm taking it a day at a time, staying rooted in my faith and working hard, bro.
Well, first, shout out to Fordham. I'm a New Yorker here, so shout out to you guys. Yeah, I'm rooting for you guys. But your answer there, I wanted to ask, because athletes, you guys are so good at staying in the now and controlling what you can control and stuff. And as fans and stuff from the outside, it's the exact opposite. So, like, how do you stay in that right state of mind, knowing like the right opportunity is going to come and stuff like that?
Yeah, man, I think football does a great job of teaching you the highs and lows and the ebbs and flows of life. Football is such a game about going through adversity and then using that adversity as an opportunity to just respond in a positive manner and keep pressing forward. So, like, you could be on the first down, you just got a first down, and then you get a sack that puts you on the 2nd and 17. Well, that's the same thing as life, bro. You might have something where you get a promotion or you get this opportunity that it looks like, man, this is my calling. This is something that's going to be really positive for me. And then next thing you know, you look back and it's like, damn, I'm 3 steps behind of where I just was, and I thought I was making progress. And that's the beautiful thing about the game that we play in football, where everybody has a job and it's always an opportunity to really overcome that adversity. So I take that same mannerism, that same outlook on life and on football, and I just apply it to the everyday basics, man. So never too high, never too low, understanding that everything is in God's perfect timing and that every single opportunity or every single situation happens for a reasoning. And it's just about finding that reasoning in life. That's really what I really ground myself with.
Well, I want to talk to you about the, some actual on-field stuff. And you mentioned being in Tampa Bay for the last couple of years. And kind of want to get into that offense because Over the last couple of years, this offense has been as potent as any around the league. Obviously a lot of talent there. I mean, you got obviously Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, sort of the headliners at wide receiver. What is it about this offense that makes it so tough to stop?
I think it's a component of about three major things. So I think Baker Mayfield doesn't get enough love. For one, he's dealt with offensive coordinator changes now like 4 years in a row where he's been. And I think, honestly, that's actually a strength of his now because now he can just pick up on an offense just like that. He's seen so many of them. And then you talk about just the culture of the team and the culture of that building. So when you have guys like Mike Evans and Chris Godwin who really lay the foundation down, and I mean, those two guys, one of the best teammates that I've had from a stardom standpoint, right? Every team has stars and they carry themselves a different way. There's different stars around the league. And those guys just treat everybody the same. I mean, honest to good, just down-to-earth good brothers. And they set the foundation of like what practice is supposed to look like, what the work is supposed to look like, what the absolute foundation, the expectation every single day coming to work is supposed to look like. And then to me, you talk about that offensive line, man. I mean, Tampa Bay, that offensive line, very underrated, top 3, top 5 unit, in my opinion. You got Tristan Wirfs, who's been an all-pro since his rookie year. And then we got Graham Barton over there, center from Duke. He is going to be a bona fide Pro Bowler, like one of those guys that I'm telling you, he's going to be a Pro Bowler for like the next 5 years. He's one of those guys, bro, that just came in as a rookie, immediately carried himself like a vet and just took the job, was never too big for him, lights never too big for him at all. Jason Litt does a great job with drafting as well. And I think that's very important. You look at, I remember I got signed to Tampa 2023 and they were in cap hell. Like they just won the Super Bowl, but they were like trying to recover from cap hell. They were still paying guys that were retired, that weren't on the team no more. And all Jason Litt did was just draft stars after star after star after star and starters. And like, they're still on top. 4 division champions in a row, going for the 5th. I think that they have a bright future for sure.
So you talked about that O-line, man, and it kind of makes sense of how graceful that Bucky Irving finished as the rookie RB1. So what are your expectations for him in year 2?
Yeah, I think Bucky's gonna expect the same type of fireworks, right? And when it comes to Bucky, you talk about explosive plays. The thing that sticks out to me is just his vision, his ability to get north and south very, very quickly. And obviously it's about making the first man, most of the time making the second man, and sometimes the third man miss, right? Yeah. Bucky does a great job of just making something out of nothing and always really coming with that explosive play mannerism. I did some stats just to look up because when you're in it, you're not really paying attention to the stats. And some of the things that I saw, let me pull them up really fast. Some of the things that I saw about Bucky Irving was that from weeks 1 through 5, Bucky had a total of just 52 touches. So very, very low volume in that aspect. And he only had 5 games of 15 or more rushing attempts throughout the whole season. So you talk about he cemented himself as the RB1 there. I got to think that at least he's going to get 15 rushing attempts at least 9 times, barring that he stays healthy, right? It got to be at least 9 times throughout the season. I know that they're not going to want to just turn him into a bell cow because of his natural body stature. You want to really keep him healthy. I think a lot of teams are going to start going towards the Detroit Lions formula where you draft a back. And I know Bucky wasn't a first-round pick like Jahmyr Gibbs, but you have a guy that's explosive. You want to keep him explosive for a 17-week period. So it's about, having those spurts of like, okay, maybe this is a game where he needs 25 touches, but that's never the goal every single week. That's how you just run these guys into the ground and they have a really short shelf life. So I definitely see Bucky having the same type of production, probably a little more just because we have a little more volume, but I still definitely expect him to have that 2-back and sometimes even 3-back system just with Tucker also behind White.
Fantasy managers want him to carry it 25 times.
Of course. Of course they do. I don't think that's going to be the situation, though. I think that the Bucs do it right, man. And there's fantasy and then there's real ball. And I believe that the real situation of it should be your goal is to have 2 really good guys that can stay healthy through a 17-week season, carry you into the playoffs and make it happen. I mean, again, like you just saw what I gave you guys the stats. Bucky didn't touch the ball heavy in the first half of the season and still finished RB1 out of rookies. He was a top 10 running back finish, correct? Yeah. As well. So, I mean, bro, he's still going to be productive. Like, I tell people all the time, that Bucs O-line they got over there, listen, it don't matter who touching that ball. It's going to be explosive play. I'm telling you.
Well, and look, for fantasy, I mean, yeah, we want to pick one guy and have him get all the touches, but I think the people who are most successful in fantasy also sort of realize how things actually are and sort of plan around that and adjust to that. In that regard, Liam Cohen now gone. He is in Jacksonville as the head coach there. You mentioned Baker Mayfield, a guy who throughout his career, I think we were saying on this show, like, it feels like he may have had a different OC every single year of his career. At least it feels that way.
Yeah.
I mean, just as a player, how difficult is it when a new offensive coordinator comes in, schemes, terminology, all that kind of stuff? How difficult is it to make that transition?
I definitely think that's a question for position by position, which is why it's so just it's astonishing how Baker is able to grasp a new playbook, a new schematic system, and take it over. Because like for quarterback, Baker has to know every single position. Not only does he have to know every single position where everyone's going to be, but he's dissecting the defense in real time as well, trying to formulate in his mind, what is the defense trying to do with this look, while also still having to remember, again, okay, I got my receiver doing a crossing route with a dig coming behind it. It's just a lot of information. So for a running back, someone like myself, you got outside zone scheme, inside zone scheme, you got gap scheme for running the football. You got a couple play action passes, and then you just remember your routes. So it's a lot different for each position. But when you talk about the quarterback position in general, just with Baker Mayfield, it's really difficult, bro. Like, I think that's the problem that we have when it comes to like molding new rookie quarterbacks coming in. Yeah, every quarterback that has some sort of potential will be a first-round pick, right? But you go look at the last 4 draft classes now. How many of those guys are starters? How many are almost out the league or already certified backups still fighting for their career? And that's because they come into a situation where they usually go to a bad team, coach gets fired, and they got to learn a new system. And when you got to learn a new system and you're young, bro, it don't work out.
And while we're talking about the Bucs, and you were saying just a minute ago about teams wanting to use multiple running backs, the Bucs have a good tandem there with Bucky, obviously, as the one, but Rachaad White, a really good receiving back out of the backfield. How do you think him and Bucky Irving can continue to complement one another?
Yeah, man, I love Rachaad White. That's like my little bro. I think he had the most receiving touchdowns last year. And again, at a limited role. I think he had 6 receiving touchdowns last year, first out of running backs. So shout out to him. I think, again, a situation that I kind of see similar in terms of workload is, you remember when Tennessee had CJ2K and Lendell White? That's like a workload situation that I think is really beneficial for those guys, where it's a solid split where, yeah, maybe Bucky is getting the predominant touches of the carries, but you also have a shot where, like, I see, like, if Bucky can have that 1,400 total yard mark and Rachaad can get to about 800 total yards, that's going to be like the really good workload split, production split, where both those guys can stay healthy and be very important factors when it comes to the success of the Bucs offense.
So I want to transition to the Jags backfield, man, because Liam Cohen is now on the sticks in Jacksonville. So with your expectations and your experience with Liam Cohen, like, the fantasy streets are on fire right now.
Yeah.
Like, we're talking Rashad Tootin, we're calling ETN, we're calling on Tank Bixby. Like, what should fantasy managers really should expect from this backfield with Liam Cohen?
With the backfield, I'm going to say that, and it depends, who their guys are, right? So it's a new coaching staff. So I'm not sure how much loyalty, whatever you want to call it, or favoritism that they have towards Travis Etienne or towards Tank or towards the draft pick that they have. It's going to matter about, who is that leadoff back. I think that whoever gets that first carry when it comes to opening the game, that's probably going to see the guy that is going to touch the ball a little more. The experience that I had with Liam is that, he's going to predominantly have a guy that touches the ball when it comes to the carries, and then he is going to have his third down back receiver, so whoever that is. So I think it's really, of those 3 guys, one gets lost in the sauce. I don't know who that is. I don't have an opinion on who that is. I don't like to prematurely speak because, the work will show for itself. But of that backfield, one of those guys will get lost in the sauce a little bit. It's just about, as the fantasy draft guys, they got to pick right.
Yeah, that's what it always comes down
to.
Yeah.
I mean, look, man, fantasy is simple. You just pick good players, right? Like, that's the whole that's the whole game.
Right.
That's it. It's an easy game. Speaking of good players, you played in Arizona with James Conner there, and this is a guy who I feel like James Conner is one of those guys that sort of goes under the radar, right? He's maybe not the flashiest guy back there, but he's so steady, he's so consistent. What is it about him that has him be so good? Even, everybody talks about the dreaded age cliff of getting close to 30 years old. What is it about James Conner that has him so productive?
Man, JC, I got nothing but great things to say about JC. You talk about just a hell of a man, a hell of a human being. Probably he might be the best teammate I've ever had. Truly. We used to call each other thorough because we were PA boys, and that was a word that he always used. And I think this question, man, as talented as James is, I don't even think it has to do with the talent of why he continues to be productive. But if you've met James Conner, if you had just the blessing and privilege to meet him, you talk about mentality, attitude, mindset, the man that he is, how he speaks. We called him Alpha. We called him Wolf when I was there. And that was just because, he has such an alpha personality, bro. Like just the way he carried himself, the way he worked. When he spoke, people listened. And you could just see, like, he just inspired belief into people, one, because of the situation, the story, that, his experience of what he went through cancer, but also, man, just nothing in life could not be defeated by James Conner in his mind. It was like, yo, bro, we're going to get this done. We're going to get this done, bro. Me and you. It don't matter about nobody else, me and you. Like, I love that dude so much. So I think it's really just his mindset, his mentality that, man, he goes out there, he plays his heart out, bro. You talk about a dude that you can just tell is playing for everything that he's got for his team and for his brothers and for his last name on his back. That's really why I think he's been able to just continue to just overcome the odds with the age difference and everything like that. And he's still been able to just be so productive. Like, he's probably going to be a Ring of Honor guy when it's all said and done for Arizona. I think he's got like 50 touchdowns now he's got a lot of touchdowns, and he'll probably be in the Ring of Honor for them.
Much deserved for him as well. Huge James Conner fans on this show. Kyren Williams, though, is a polarizing player in fantasy and on this show. So I would love to hear what your thoughts are on Kyren Williams.
Mike, before I answer, I would love to hear your thoughts on Kyren Williams.
I am Team Kyren.
Can I do a reverse card?
Please.
I'm Team Kyren. I think that Kyren puts up numbers yearly, and that people, I won't speak for other people, but I think he is underappreciated for what he does year in and year out. But there's a Rams fan on this show who might not feel the same.
That's the thing, Chase. We have a Rams fan on this show who, of the three of us, seems to have the most doubts about Kyren Williams.
What you saying, Claude? What you saying?
Before you jump in, Chase, can we, as a running back, can we emphasize on the importance of ball security? Because I think that may limit a running back's opportunity of holding the rock if the ball keeps hitting the ground in crucial moments.
They do say ball security, job security in the running back room. That's the number one saying you're gonna see on the board. Is this a fantasy question or is this a football question? Because that's going to change my answer.
Let's make it a football question, because then we can sort of figure out the fantasy aspect of it after that.
Okay. I love Kyren Williams. Extremely talented. He's been balling. As long as he controls the fumbling hiccups, he will again be a predominant RB1. I think, though, when you look at what the Rams did last year, one, from the outside, I don't think they had a lot of faith in Blake Corum for whatever reason. They didn't really give him an opportunity much. And when I saw him actually run, he didn't look bad. Like, he looked like he could have, he has some juice and he can go. But I think Kyren Williams had like 78% carry share on that team. Like, it was like number one in the NFL, like ridiculous. I don't think that's good for his long-term career. I believe that he's gotta hone in on the fumbling thing, because in some ways it almost cost him that Philly game. I never like to blame a game on one player, bro. So I'm not saying that at all. But turnovers are the fastest way to lose a football game and win a football game in the NFL. No matter if you got 17 rushing touchdowns or you're being productive with 1,400 yards, it's just the ball is everybody's livelihood. That's literally what we say in the locker room. So I'm going to say that it's the RB1 role, and just him being another top 10 running back finish is his to lose. Put it like that.
You talk about ball security. What can you do as a running back to sort of work on that? I mean, I've seen guys over their career sort of improve. What sort of things can you do to help work on that?
I don't think it's as much as a technique thing as it is. You got to have paranoid awareness. I heard running back coach Saxon, when I was in AZ, that used to use that expression, a paranoid awareness about where defenders are around you. And like where someone like Kyren runs so hard all the time, and he's never really focused on, like, sometimes holding the football with two hands, when he's in that danger zone, in the box around a lot of guys where there's going to be a lot of arm movement, defenders that you don't really see. He's more worried about, making the guy miss and providing explosive plays like he does. So I think that it just comes down to that paranoid awareness about, okay, am I in a situation where I can, put the explosive play over the ball security? I think it's always about mitigating risk. So it's like you're in a situation where, okay, if I make this guy miss, I'm in open field, I know I can make a 20-yard run to a 50-yard touchdown. Well, that's a case where, let's try to make this dude miss, and that's not cover the ball up with two hands, but it's a first down run. You might break a little inside zone and you're around 2 or 3 linebackers. I don't think that's the best case scenario where you're trying to run through all those guys. I think you need to, take the ball security into effect and go and survive for another play. So I think it's more of a mentality.
When I was growing up, there was a story. The Giants apparently made Tiki Barber carry a football around an entire offseason everywhere he went. Would that actually work? Because no one's trying to strip the ball from him in everyday life.
Yeah, bro. I think that's one of them old school things that's like, yeah, bro, you're gonna carry this football around everywhere you go. You gotta practice it, man. You gotta practice live reps of having guys swiping, going after the ball to you in practice. You gotta have guys who are kind of like in a way that are it's practice. You break off a little run and they, what I mean? Catch you off guard. You have to have that muscle memory work to really allow that to, stay in function and actually bring that to you from a neurological standpoint. And now you have those reps where, okay, I'm used to somebody swiping after the ball, really going after it, and I'm not really, as much losing my tug on it. So again, I think it's all about just the body of the work and really treating the practices like the games.
So I want to ask you about a running back that you were very high on during the draft process from Kansas State, DJ Giddens. Can you tell us more about what made you so excited about his game, and how do you see him fitting behind JT and Indy?
Yeah, man, when I was watching DJ Giddens' film, I was getting ready for the Good Morning Football segment, and I'm not going to say that he's going to have the same trajectory or he's going to be like this player, but I'm telling you, bro, he really reminded me of Lev Bell. I thought DJ Giddens had top 2, top 3 vision coming out with the classes in terms of just his ability to just naturally find the hole and understand how linebackers may flow, and he can really see a back gap cut. The other thing that I thought he did the best probably in the class was just naturally making somebody miss. I don't want to say he's the most elusive. I'm not saying he's more elusive than Travion Henderson or someone like that. But in terms of just naturally making defenders miss, I mean, you can pull a multiple clips of DJ Giddens naturally stopping his feet in the hole, putting the defender on freeze, getting back outside, getting back north-south. And I think that when you come to the NFL, that's the number one difference with rookie running backs who have success and who don't have success. Can you make these guys miss in these tight spaces? Because the holes collapse a lot faster. Guys fill the holes a lot, quicker. And it's really about, okay, can you make somebody miss super quick and get back north and south? And that's something that DJ Giddens does really well. As far as his role with Jonathan Taylor, I think it's a perfect situation for him, to be honest. I think that he gets to take his time and groom and really understand the speed of the game, understand kind of the schematics of the run system. He doesn't have to come in and take 15 carries. I think he's going to be a great change of pace back to JT, especially if he can really, take advantage of his role with the receiving role. Right now, JT's not really used as that guy that gets the grabs and gets the receptions. So I'm sure Shane, the head coach over there, will, draw some plays up for DJ. So I think that I wouldn't be surprised if you saw some pony packages, meaning both of those guys on the field at the same time, and they really try to utilize DJ from a receiving standpoint just to get his feet wet and really use his ability to make guys miss in the open field.
Ashton Jeanty was sort of the headliner of this draft class. He's the guy that everybody sort of started the conversation with. I know there's no such thing as a can't miss prospect, right? We see guys who just for whatever reason just don't quite succeed. But your thoughts on him and his chances to be successful in year one with Pete Carroll and the Raiders? Yeah.
Love Ashton as a prospect. I think going to to Las Vegas. I'm still not used to that. Going to Las Vegas, the thing about being a 6-pick running back, right? The expectation is going to be that he has to run for 1,200 yards. And I used 1,200 yards as a benchmark, actually, because I looked up a weird stat. Every running back under Pete Carroll when he was in Seattle that had over 200 carries had at least 1,200 total yards. I'm not going to say 1,200 rushing yards, but 1,200 total yards. So you had 4 years in a row with Marshawn. You had 2018 and 2019 with Chris Carson. So to me, that's the benchmark. He's going to have over 200 carries. I know that for a fact, as long as he stays healthy. So how much they use him in the receiving game, Boise State didn't really, they didn't ask him to catch the ball. I'm not saying that he can't catch the ball. So that's something that I think is going to be important and really dictate his final fantasy ranking. What is he at right now for ADP?
He's the fourth running back draft.
Yeah. RB4.
Brother, that's crazy. I put
high expectations on him.
That's just crazy to me because, I remember when I was really good at fantasy as a player when I was with AZ, and it was because I was on an explosive offense, bro. So, I was the receiving back as well, but being on an explosive offense just gives you so many more opportunities for success. Ashton Jeanty is going to be the number one option coming in day one with the Raiders, even though they had the greatest tight end season of all time. Your tight end is just not going to be your number one option. So every single defense, every single week is going to try to stop number 2 Ashton Jeanty. So I do think there's going to be some pullback a little bit from what the expectation is to what the reality is of the situation. I still think, though, he cranks that 1,200 yards total mark, and it just depends on how many times he sees the end zone that really, showcases where he finishes out as a fantasy running back.
And then there's Omarion Hampton, who was consensus the RB2 in this class, but they signed Najee Harris just before the draft. So what do you expect that backfield to look like? And a lot of the times in fantasy, we're the rookie's going to take over. Is that the mindset of these players in the locker room, or how does that kind of work itself out?
Well, that's never the mindset of the players in the locker room because, again, for us, it's all about the work. So you won't know until training camp. Those guys will get a better understanding of, how those two backs, Najee and Omarion Hampton, complement each other and kind of who is the cream of the crop. I see that as being – he's definitely going to touch the rock, obviously, right? Is he going to be a day one starter? I'm going to say no because they did pay Najee $5.5. I think – for day one standpoint, it's like a 1A, 1B thing. I do think Najee is the 1A back just because of the experience, and you don't want to put so much pressure on Omarion to come in immediately and just be the feature back. So I do like Najee still as the day one back. And I also like Najee as the 4-minute running back and possibly even the short yardage goal line situation running back. Now, I know Harbaugh, he likes to sprinkle in different backs at the short yardage situation, and those guys are both power back systems, so it's not really going to matter. But Najee has a history of really never fumbling the football. He has 2 seasons of donuts with no fumbles. So to me, that screams 4-minute running back. And for those that don't know, 4-minute running back is just when you're trying to close the game out. And that's where a lot of those garbage yards and chunk yards can come at the end of football games and possible touchdowns, right? So I do see Najee being 1A for at least the first quarter of the season. So I mean the first 4 games of the season. And then we'll see how it goes. I'm a big stat guy, right? So if I'm killing y'all with the stats, let me know. But
no, man, it's all good.
No, love it.
The last running backs to get drafted from 20 to 25 were Najee and Jacobs. Both of those guys had 240 carries a rookie year. Now, they didn't have a Najee behind them, either one of them, but I'm going to say that Omarion has 180 carries.
Ooh, that's pretty
good.
So
I'll say 180 carries. And you do with that how you think his production is going to be off that, but I think 180 carries. Because, they drafted him. They drafted him high, so he's going to play. But I think that he's going to play more later as opposed to more earlier.
Quick follow-up there. How different is it for a team like the Patriots who new coaching staff, Ramondre Stevenson was from the old coaching staff, Henderson is there. Does that matter? Because we talk about that a lot in fantasy. Is that very different from the Chargers who brought both running backs in?
I think it matters a little bit. I'm not going to say it matters a whole lot because Ramondre is a talented running back in this situation. But I'll give you another example. It matters a lot in the Jaguar situation. Where, you got Trav coming in, you got a whole new coaching staff. And Trav, I'm not going to say he had a down year, but he was a little unhealthy, a little banged up. So now, people don't look at him as the same. For the Patriots situation, here's why I say it doesn't matter as much. Those two guys really complement one another. So Ramondre is going to be the first and second down back, and I'll say the first and second and short back. So that's how I see that split going, a 60-40 split with those guys. Vrabel loves to obviously pound the rock, impose physicality for his team. So Rhamondre is definitely going to have more carries out of the two. But then what they're going to do is they're probably just going to put both of those guys in the situation that makes them succeed the most. So if it's 2nd and 5 and longer, expect TreVeyon Henderson to be on the football field. But if it's 2nd and 5 and shorter, because you still got that run there, we'll expect Ramondre Stevenson to be on the football field. And then 3rd down situation, it will be TreVeyon's down. That'll definitely be his down. I think also for them, for fantasy impact, a big thing that's going to matter is the receptions to the red zone opportunities for the two. So how many receptions is TreVeyon Henderson going to be looking at in the game? And then in the red zone, is New England going to take the approach of keeping the ball in Drake May's hand? Because if that's the case, TreVeyon's probably going to be on the field more in the red zone. But if Mike Vrabel, once they get inside the 10 or inside the 15, he kind of has that Tennessee Titan mentality of, now we're going to pound this rock in and score from the ground, then that's going to be Ramondre's role. So I still think both of those guys has a crazy successful fantasy year just because they complement each other so well. And then I know I talk a lot, but just to get back to your point about Amarion
we love this.
And Najee, that situation to me, they both are going to have their opportunities because it's like you said, the new staff, they brought in Najee. They just paid him off free agency, and they also wanted to bring in a running back for the future. So I think they look at that situation like, look, man, we got two guys that now they are kind of the same type of back. I'll say Amarion probably will get more receiving just because he's a little bit more explosive than Najee in terms of really taking those things to distance. But they are kind of like the same type of back. So that's where one of those things where I look at as when it comes to target share, run share, however you want to categorize it, I can see it being a down the neck split just between the two because of Harbaugh also bringing in Najee.
So I wanted to ask you about one of my favorite running backs coming out of this class, RJ Harvey. So I'm curious. Yeah, let's go, Chase. Let's go, Chase. Now I'm wondering, how do you see him fitting in this Sean Payton and Denver Broncos offense in year one?
Yeah, I love RJ Harvey, man. I called him real juice on the Good Morning Football segment. I tried to tell the Bronco fans that's who I see they should go after. And I just look at what Sean Payton has done when he's had a really good, explosive, elusive back, and they all have just had success. You look at Alvin Kamara's rookie year, I think this is the benchmark for RJ Harvey because I actually think he'll touch the football more than what AK did his rookie season. And AK finished with 50 scrimmage yards and like 13 touchdowns. So to me, that's the benchmark for RJ Harvey. 1,500 total yards and minimum 10 touchdowns. I think he'll touch the football a lot. He's explosive. And, man, you know what he has? That Denver O-line are dogs. They're dogs up front, man. So
talk about it, Chase.
He's got a really good opportunity to do some really special things up there in Mile High.
Want to ask you before we let you go, though. We talked about a whole lot of guys. Anybody that maybe you didn't mention that you got your eye on, or just anybody you enjoy watching play at the running back spot?
Who do I enjoy watching play at the running back spot right now? The obvious choice is obviously Saquon jumping over people backwards. Yeah. That's absolutely ridiculous.
Jaron Jones, man. Sorry.
You know who I'm going to go as a sleeper, though? And I wanted to make sure I touched on this. It's two guys. And I don't know if you want to call him a sleeper because I think he's like RB19 right now. But when you check football Twitter, and then when I was looking at like some of the draft mocks, the disrespect that DeAndre Swift was getting. Let me tell you guys something. DeAndre Swift is going to be a top 10 running back this season with Ben Johnson.
Talk about it.
Man, PA boy from Philly. But D Swift is so cold. I love his game. I love how explosive he is. I love how elusive he is. Just watching from the TV, I'm not going to ever kill coaching because, again, we all working hard in the NFL. But the scheme that they were running from like a run game standpoint, they stood no shot, bro. If you knew what you were looking at and you were watching Chicago's run game from a schematic standpoint, they didn't stand a shot, And so I think he averaged like 3.9 yards last year. People were kind of trying to kill him on it. Look, they meted up that offensive line over there. Ben Johnson is going to come in and call some explosive plays, and DeAndre Swift is going to benefit like hell out of having Ben Johnson there, and he's going to remind people that he's the real deal. Another guy that I like that I think is going to have a lot more opportunity is Jordan Mason coming to Minnesota.
That's his boy.
Come on, let's go.
That's your guy?
You talking to all my guys right now. Let's go.
I just think Aaron Jones is still going to be very productive. I think Aaron Jones is one of the more underrated running backs of our era, truly. Like, he's been always productive in every single season. But because of his age a little bit, I think they will try to keep him healthy for a 17-game season. Jordan Mason's coming into the same system that he just left in San Francisco, so there's familiarity there. Again, you look at any team that's coached by KOC calling the plays, bro, I love KOC. I think he's a top 3 offensive mind in this NFL, in this league. You got Justin Jefferson and Addison on the outside, so they're not going to see heavy boxes. I'm as long as J.J. McCarthy comes in there and does what they do, Minnesota is going to be better than last. I don't want to say better because they won like 14 games, but they're going to be right at the neck of the top of the NFC North, you know. And then my last sleeper, strictly off a situation for fantasy purposes, Cam Skattebo.
Yeah,
let's go.
We're a Skattebo-friendly podcast, man. So
Cam Skattebo. Cam, he's better out of the backfield than people want to give him credit for. Maybe this because they just see the white skin and that he's 230. I don't know. But he can catch the football. He can run routes. But I think day one, no matter what, he's the short yardage goal line running back for the Giants because they still got Singletary and Tracy. That's going to be his role no matter what. So the people that love that vulture term, he might vulture some touchdowns away. Like, Cam can give you 10 points and have 6 touches in a game. Like, truly. Just because he gets you a touchdown and maybe 2 grabs. So Cam Skattebo, I think, is someone that he'll be a sleeper for fantasy.
Oh, man.
Team Cam.
We are Team Cam here on this show, so we absolutely love all of that. Going down the list of Fordham greats, you got Vince Lombardi, Denzel Washington. For Dodger fans, it's Vince Scully. And then Chase Edmonds. Chase, we're so glad to have you on the show. It was a lot of fun having the conversation. And I know you're starting to get back in the game, so good luck to you, on your workouts, your rehabs, and hopefully we see you back on the field sometime soon, man. But we appreciate
I appreciate you guys so much. Thanks for the opportunity to have me.
Absolutely. Before we get out of here, quick note for you. No show for you beginning of next week. We'll be back with a cheat sheet next Thursday, so stay tuned for that. In the meantime, that'll do it for this edition of the NFL Fantasy Football Podcast. Stay happy, safe, and healthy. Do good, live well, enjoy the holiday weekend, everybody, and we will talk to you again next week.